Hello, everybody.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
Welcome to CLCI Live.
Welcome in. Before we get started, of course, can we make sure that we want to let everybody know who's watching to please go ahead and add to the chat, comment, all that good stuff. We want to hear from you. And then who wants to introduce the topic?
Money, money, money. What's that song? Money.
Yeah.
About money, moolah, cold hard cash.
Who sang that song? Money, money, money.
Well, there's different ones. There's Pink Floyd song.
Pink Floyd's great.
There's also the money. That's what I want.
I forgot about that one.
There's also Mo Money, Mo Problems.
Yep.
What's that one commercial for it's like either Peachtree or JG Wentworth? It's my money and I need it now.
Definitely JG Wentworth.
Yeah. That's what our topic is.
Yeah.
Can anybody guess what our topic is? We're talking about money and what our relationship to it is or is not.
Our emotional attachment to money.
Our attachments, yes.
I think also how it affects our clients and also how it affects us as coaches and how it affects our business, perhaps even, and our willingness to ask
as a whole
from our business. There's all kinds of emotional baggage that comes with money. While I was watching various things on this, one of the things that struck me that a woman said was she was in a room of people and asked what their relationship was with money, and every one of them, no matter where they were in life, no matter how much money they had a element of fear attached to their money. And she was like, how cruel is it that we all have to participate in a system that instills innate fear in us at all times? And it's like, oh man, that's true. Really struck me, but that really tells you, I mean, if you think about fight or flight, and the impact fight or flight has on us as human beings, right? I mean, well, that's fear-based. So you can imagine that knowing the fear that comes along with money, that we often may not always make the most intellectual of decisions when it comes to it, non-emotionally charged choices. One of the questions I wanted to ask in this phase of everybody is, has there ever been a time that your relationship with money had an effect on your relationships?
My significant no?
Well, it doesn't even have to be significant other. Friendships, I'm talking about just a human because you have a relationship with money, and then that relationship can so often come between friends, in many ways, create.
So not personal relationship, business relationship, yes. I had one of the other businesses I had back in the day, company filed bankruptcy. And while we still paid all our bills, they did not. And that was a tough time. That was really a tough time. So emotionally, while it didn't affect, meaning, of course it affected our relationship, but not in the sense of that it was a bad or caused us to fight more or anything like that. It just, we had to tighten that belt really fast, cinch it up. And consequently, from that experience, my children have learned to tighten their belt. And, as we talk about that attachment, or there are some fears there of, we've had some really tough times and we don't want to go back.
Mm-hmm. So that adjusts your behavior essentially for the long term.
Yeah.
I'm in a quick question. So now that when you've adjusted the behavior and you guys are saving, cinching your belt, etc., what does that do for you?
Makes you work longer, harder, not have as much fun.
What does that do for you emotionally? How do you feel when you're doing that?
How do I feel emotionally? I haven't thought about it emotionally in a while. So how do I feel? I feel like I don't think I'm going to answer your question because I probably need more time to get there to really find what that response is. But what I can say is it's there definitely still the desire to want to take some time off. The desire is there. The follow through is not.
I know for me personally. Oh, Jerome, I see you. I see
Yeah,
you.
I would say what
I
there's a
see
saying.
you.
What's the
You were
saying? It's
forming.
growing up. I was the saying was repeated to me. I forget what is. You lose your money or you lose your friends, one or the other. And for me, that kind of instilled a want to detach from money from an early age. I value friendships and experiences much more, I think, than money. Not to say that money isn't valuable to me, it definitely is. But when you're speaking about it getting in the way of my relationships, it's come up. But anytime that it's ever come up, I've had to detach emotionally and really assess the situation as to whether or not I wanted to proceed with that emotion. Is that something that I want to inflict on whoever that friend is or whoever that person is, and allow that to kind of snowball into something that kind of can sometimes money can be messy, right? And I do my best to stay away from allowing money to get in the way again of true relationships, true friendships. And that's kind of where I come from with it.
But I was having a discussion with Anthony about this not too long ago about how it's interesting, though, that it can affect our relationships in ways that maybe we don't expect, and that if I'm a person that is, let's say I'm settled, I've got it figured out, and I'm able to have some extra surplus money to go and do things, right? Not at all times are other people able to do the same, and it creates a sort of dissonance, right, between the times, and that can affect friendships and things of that nature. Yeah, I saw heads nodding.
I wanted to say you asked to think of one thing, but I thought of pretty much everything. It is in I try not to think about it too much, but I end up thinking about it. It's like the pink elephant. So I try not to think about it, but it's like money and just money in general has pretty much it found its way insidiously to define every aspect of my life. I think every aspect of everybody's life, where it defines your relationships with people, who you know, who you talk to, your relationships with your parents, friends. As an example, this was a this was a funny moment in my childhood where I became more it's like boom, instant knowledge, awareness of the world that I didn't have before. For some strange reason, I just assumed as maybe a fifth grader, sixth grader, I was like, oh yeah, everyone's got a college fund. I saw this on TV one time. Parents save money for their kids to go to college. It's totally stupid, ridiculous idea now to assume that was true for everybody. But I saw it on TV and in mentioned in movies, so I just assumed that was the case.
And everything is true that's on TV.
Yeah, yeah. And then one time I asked in a grocery store. I remember this moment. I was waiting in line for groceries, and for some reason, something came up. Where I asked my mom, I was like, "Hey, how much is in my college account?" She's like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, my college fund." She's like, "Nothing." I was like, "What do you mean nothing?" And the realization hit after that, following a few days after that, I was like, "Oh, I gotta handle this is something that needs to be handled in the immediate future and be handled by me." But it defines money, defines where you live, it defines who you associate with, who your parents associate with, it defines where you go to school, essentially. It defines so many aspects that if I came from a poorer background or a richer background, I'd probably be a completely different person. I wouldn't be sitting in this chair as Anthony, as you know. I'd be some other person with some other people that I know working a different job, essentially. So I really think that money almost entirely defines who you are before you even get to have a say with who you are as a person.
Mm.
I grew up in a wealthy neighborhood, and I watched millionaires essentially, who lived lives beyond their means, even though they still had it right, and were miserable, and were killing themselves, and were making other people miserable, and were always mad at everybody around them, and feeling victimized, and feeling like they could trust nobody. And I grew up in this very kind of toxic money environment that you wouldn't think. You think, behind the orange curtain, if you know where Orange County is, there is it's all fluffy and puppies and kittens. I mean, I grew up knowing the Real Housewives of Orange County, and I just watched them. One of the funniest things is they would go and they would film, and they would go into jewelry stores, and they would buy everything, and then as soon as the cameras were off, they would return everything. And I know this because I knew that we were friends with the jewelry owner, and she would always giggle about this and stuff. And so, like, they're this lavish exterior for everybody. Like, we're doing great, but behind closed doors, you have no clue what's going on, and a lot of times it's a disaster, because. And so I, at 18, was like, deuces, I'm out of here. I want nothing to do with this. I'm tattooing myself. These people don't like people with tattoos. They won't like me. Good. Then I'll never have anything to like. I am doing everything I can to make myself different than these humans. And I rebelled against money, like, to the nth degree. I was like, it was just made
Brooke,
me mad.
in a way, that's a way of like money defining you. That's like not even your money; it's other people's
I
money
know.
ended up defining you in a way that like maybe
I am
wouldn't
well.
have if you weren't in
I've
that environment.
even written about how, like, my rebellion against all of these things I did not like ultimately was me buying into all these things that I did not like and giving them power. And I've since, of course, let go of all of that and been like, okay, Brooke, just do you and do what's right for you and do what's best for you. Because really, you're just doing yourself more harm and giving more validity to systems that you don't appreciate. And so but it was just very interesting because it was so prevalent in my life. It was even used as a tool of like, oh, I'm not there, so we'll let me buy you things and make it better. And then I mean, it builds up resentment, and then let me hold that over your head later. And so then it became like, I didn't like accepting gifts. I didn't, like, there are all these strings that sort of kind of attached with it that I saw, and it definitely shaped so much of the way I looked at the world, and so much of the way that I think I saw others looking at the world as well. And I would agree with you, Anthony. I think the birds of a feather flock together, and we may not even realize it. We live in a neighborhood where who we interact with is really greatly dependent on our proximity. And because of that, it does greatly affect who it is that we interact with. We can't deny that. So it does define us in ways beyond even our day-to-day comprehension, I think. It's one of those things like we talked about last week, the illusions that we have, where we have these illusions that we sort of upkeep. And I think it's one of those illusions where we assume it's not affecting us to the degree that it actually is. And I'll take it to another level later when we start to talk about decision making with regard to money and how that might apply for our coaches. Jen, I see you nodding.
That's just so interesting. What you just shared. I'm like, this is so interesting. I want to know more. I feel like I'm still developing.
Now.
I feel like I'm still developing my adult view of money. Like when I was younger, it was just like not even a real thing. Like it was made up. It was like a unicorn. Like it wasn't real. I just didn't take ownership of it or anything. I just didn't have really much of a relationship with it. If I got into trouble, somehow I was able to get out of trouble. It just was never a thing. And now as an adult, I'm like, oh, wow. There's a lot here. And it's definitely, it's an interesting subject, your relationship with money and the emotions tied behind it, for sure. And the fear, especially now with things the way they are.
Yeah, and it's getting a little threatening out there with the economy. They keep telling us how
I think part of my frustration with money comes from the fact that I realize now at my age its importance, because I was a little similar to you in my later teens and I guess earlier 20s, but also the realization that it is entirely fake. Like
Yeah, no,
it's not
let's talk about the
real.
history. Yeah, let's
It's
talk
not
about the
real
history.
or substantive in like any actual way, yet we treat it as the most real and valuable thing there is, and as a, I guess, a signifier of worth and value and work and time and
It's gotten
all
even
these other
more
things.
like if we go back in the history of money, like money used to be essentially before there was tangible coin and things like that. It was an exchange of goods. And you'd have a bookkeeper, and you'd say, okay, and he would be in charge of going, okay, well, this guy is going to do this, and it was his job to keep a running tally of so and so helped this person do this, and in exchange, this person is doing this, and it wasn't an actual exchange of goods as much as it was an exchange of bartering system, an exchange of services. But then what began to happen is if somebody owed somebody money, they would issue them basically like coinage, IOU, but they would also make sure that coinage had their signifier on it, like there something that said, "This is mine. This is my IOU. This is my whatever that is," and it became an extension, almost like an ego extension, it built communities, right? We know that this currency is accepted here because this guy does business here. And so, hey, I got this much debt to him, but I have less. Let's trade these things out. And it became this form of trading. But all of that it was great marketing, had his name or whatever it is on it. Still exists today. You look at US currency, you look at all the currency that's out there. Our currency is very much our currency. It's labeled, it's got our forefathers on it, and all these things. But what's even crazier now when you think about it, how much do we deal in money now? There are stores you can go into and they don't even accept money. So it's become even less tangible. And now it's this digital good that's sort of going around, which is just even more odd because it's like it's there, I think. Right.
Sometimes if I invest in the wrong thing, then there's less of it. Other times I get lucky and there's more of it, but it's just like it's so intangible now that it's like a game essentially.
I do
It's like,
wonder what the I wonder what the long-term effects of that will be. Like the fact that it's so intangible, if it means that people become more willing to spend it and spend it frivolously because they've never seen the gold bar. They've never, held the cash. If there's, I mean, I'm just curious in the future of what the long-term effects in economics and sociology will be.
So I'm older than you guys, in case you didn't know, right? Back in the day, even
we
really,
had bees on our nickels.
even before, really before my time, they started to do credit cards, right? Credit cards, but they were only for really, really good credit holders who could prove, so there was a limited amount of credit cards. And then, what was it, in the 70s or 80s? I'm going to say the 80s, because I think it was a little bit more cognitive. I was a little more cognitive about money exchange, like what we're talking about, services and goods and credit cards and all that whatnot. Somebody said, oh, they're moving towards replacing cash with credit cards. And everybody would go, no, that's never going to happen. No. Now, fast forward, what year? We're 2022. And that's what I use all the time. I'm like, I hold the cash, the bits of cash I have, I don't spend it. I use the credit card. So we have tangibly gone through, as you went through some anthropology, Brooke, and gave us some history behind that. We continually evolve into something that doesn't really represent what we're utilizing. So it's kind of interesting how even that has changed through time. And then I think also, as we've gone through 2020, all right, we all kind of stayed home and did things virtually. And I think that really solidified that next movement for credit card to be.
And now Bitcoin.
Well, and there's that. I haven't quite wrap my head around that one so much.
You
No,
know, a whole
yeah.
live topic on that some other time.
That,
I like how Lisa said 2020, like the year that shall not be named.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, no longer do we call it the C word. We call it the 2020 year.
Yeah, there's
BC. It's
there's
before
BC,
C
there's before
and
COVID, and
yeah.
then BC after COVID.
So,
Yeah.
so I think we're even went on a faster, what do you call it, trajection to be on that credit card, be on the side of that prediction back in the day, whatever that was in the 80s, maybe early 90s, that we're all moving to credit card, plastic. Pretty soon it's going to be an arm, a chip, right?
Chip
Well,
me. I won't lose a chip in my hand.
I won't lose my phone. I hardly even use my card. I use Apple Pay, and that's really how I can
Exactly. So that's so in all the spaces, what we're talking about though is what's interesting. We've all shared to some degree. I mean, we can tell the history of money better than we can probably tell the history of some relatives. Because it is that influential and prevalent in our lives. Bringing this to coaching and as coaches, what do you think this means for our clients?
Well, just assuming based on what we've been sharing, we all have an attachment to it. We have fears associated with it. Starting a new business is really uncomfortable. We've had this discussion before on where that financial contribution to starting your own business concept is. Not only that, if our clients are coming in, mine definitely came in with issues between themselves as a couple. So when you asked earlier, my personal one, really the clients came in with a lot of issues, power struggles around money. So
also, I just would think with regard to, as Anthony was sharing, my limiting belief alert went off, bing, 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 a bit, right? While it is true, and it is true for him. I could also see a client coming in with the same dialogue in many ways. I can't do that because of my station in life. It's not possible. And I think money is definitely creates some huge limiting beliefs and obstacles for our clients.
Yeah.
Can you guys think of any examples where that might be the case, or?
Well,
It may not be adjacent. It may not come up in a coaching session, but it's prevalent enough where it could prevent somebody from coaching because they have a conflicting interests, where money is the main conflicting interest. I can't coach because I don't have the money to coach for X, Y, and Z reasons. So it might prevent them from even coaching with you in the first place.
Right. Most people think they can't afford coaching.
Yeah.
Right. Most people are like, I can't afford it. But I couldn't afford it.
Can I ask a question around that though? Honestly, can I ask a question? So we're just gonna sort of, it's like half marketer, half coach hat going on right now. It's like a mixed bag of hats. So you said that you didn't have money to do coaching, right? Was there anything in your life that you wanted that you could have found the money to do to scrounge up the money, that it was worth money, you had money to do?
To eat.
Well, obviously, but I just mean
yes, definitely.
Such as?
Well, just simply sacrificing eating out, just simple cutbacks on where I could save. I know exactly where I can save. So
well, yeah, not even, even one step further than that. So then let's okay, you know where the money you can save, but you're saying to yourself, okay, but I don't have the money for coaching. So what would motivate you to start saving for coaching?
So you keep thinking, hold that thought. Here's the thing is we know we on this panel know the value of coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why I'm. Yeah, that's why I'm asking Jen. I'm saying, what would motivate? Like, what would need? If, in asking this question, I'm hoping that she gives. I mean, I don't want to say what I'm hoping she gives, but but what would motivate you to start saving? What would have to happen? Let's say.
I would have to be at a point where I'm so ready to change. I'm so ready to invest in myself for that change.
Okay.
That's not what you were hoping I was going to say.
No, it's fine. No, it's perfect. Don't change a thing. Me as a coach, if I'm a coach and I want to be your coach, and you have to get to the point that you are ready to invest in yourself for coaching, what could I do to get you to that point?
I don't know.
I have an immediate answer to that question.
I know, I'm sure you do, yeah.
I don't know.
I think the answer is probably nothing, to be honest, because you have to be ready, right? If you're not coachable, you're not ready. I think that's a really good thing to talk about, though, in this space, is we as coaches. Let me ask one more question before I go down this path. Do you follow coaches now?
Mm-hmm.
And are there coaches out there you would hire and respect if you were ready?
That question's hard for me because I currently hire a coach. Like I'm currently doing it.
Okay. So you're currently, there you go. What got you there? You currently have a coach? Wait, now I'm confused. So are you paying your coach currently?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So you got there.
I got there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what got you there?
I literally I had to choose the discomfort of the money being an amount that I was uncomfortable with. I had to just allow that uncomfortable feeling of like, this is more than I typically have ever invested in myself for personal growth.
What is the expectation?
The expectation is, I guess, learning how to process life in a way that gives me more joy and ease and allows me to be in more alignment with who I am and what I want.
How do we sell that as a coach?
You have to live it yourself. I have to see it in you.
I love that. And you have to see it in me. So it has to be authentic, right?
Yeah.
You have to believe in what it is that you're selling, you're capable of. You have to show, you have to do, right?
Yes. You would have to show me that you buy your own product and believe in your own product.
You got to sell yourself first. Huge. Yeah. So important. Number one. I mean, number one besides niching, but did you see the smile on her face too? Like she knew. She's like, yeah, I know exactly why I hired this coach.
Yeah.
I know exactly why.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because she was who she is, and I believe her. Yeah. Because I believe her, I can buy her product. I trust her. What's the lesson in there for our coaches? Everybody's brains. I see the hamsters.
Is that open to the floor?
Yeah.
I think you've got to be authentically yourself, and don't be afraid to authentically be yourself, because again, you can't really fake what we're speaking about here. So to attract genuine clients on a consistent basis, you've got to not stray away from being who you are.
You've got to be passionate about what you're sharing and what you're providing, and not let the in that moment of expression, that passion, not let self-doubt, the ego get in the way.
I'm going to ask one more question. There was another lesson in there that we kind of skipped over too. Jen paid more than she was comfortable with for somebody she thought was authentic, which for me tells our coaches who are out there terrified to ask for money when they're coaching, that if they are believe in their product, if they're being authentic, if they're out there going, I can help you, and being passionate, authentic individuals, you can ask for what you think you deserve. You can ask for your product. Your value will be matched.
On that last question, what did you ask? We went around. What did you just ask?
The what was the lesson for our coaches there?
No, it was what do you need to see in a coach or something? Jerome talked and then Lisa talked. One thing I would add to it, at least in my experience, is I want to see your struggle and I want to see how you operate. I want to see how you process things. I want to see how your mind works, right? Like I think about examples like Mike, right? Like his energy, the way he is doing life is so inspiring. I would hire Mike in a heartbeat. Just because that is coming through, that is translating to me, that is speaking to me. I want some of that, right? I want to have that same zest and joy and like ability to just be resilient and just keep going and just, yes. So share your struggle, I would say, because that is inspiring.
I'll take it. Well, share your struggle and share your joy. Share your success as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
My Machiavellian brain is like churning right now, and it's what is it that successful coaches are actually selling? They're not selling a product or a commodity. They're not selling, pants or food or a bracelet, or they're not tangible things that they're actually selling that you can hold in your hand. What it sounds like, I'm not saying this is like true, the end all be all, but what it sounds like is that successful coaches sell an image of a lifestyle or a lifestyle, and you're essentially trading one intangible, money, for another intangible, a lifestyle or the presentation of a lifestyle, and then the process to get there. So when we talk about niching down the return on investment, we talk about what does that end goal look like? Where do you want to be? We try to bring the future into the present moment with the client and try to get them to pretty much visualize it and live in that moment.
I think if you distill down what every single coach for the most part is selling, because we're not financial, we're not consultants, we're coaches. Yeah. So I think if you distill it down, every single coach is selling hope and possibility.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they're selling the possibility of whatever that is that the client wants.
Yes. And the coach is the example of what's possible for the client.
And the successful coaches, you can see the results. Like it's very clear. Like if you were to coach, like let's say you had a coach you're working with and you wanted to be happier and well-fulfilled individual. If you coached with the most miserable SOB in the world who just did not look the image of a happy and fulfilled person, you're not really going to hand your money over to them. It's very clear that they're not living the lifestyle that you want to live.
I want to tread carefully here, though, a little bit carefully, because
Yeah.
when we say these things, what I want us to also know is to nobody's perfect. So even the coaches that are exuding they have their own struggles, they have their own things, they have their own, but I think, like Jen even said, share your struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Be real, be authentic, and show that you're still out there doing it, right? And no, I'm still coaching. I mean, in spite of everything, in spite, you know what I mean? I think that's important.
Yeah. What? Oh, go on, Lisa.
So one of the things that I will have a conversation about, you either got to put money in marketing, advertising, or you got to put your time and energy in getting out there in front of others. Right? And
Either way, though, you're getting out there in front of others.
you got to get out there. That's the bottom line. What we're talking about is the getting out there part. When you're in that coaching and client seat, you're not going to do what we're talking about in that sense. You're going to be authentic during the session, but your story is still not going to come up. It's going to kind of, when you're in that authentic seat, it kind of just, that that's where the person's coming from. You don't have to tell them in that seat. When you do and can tell them is before they ever come into your door. Hey, this is who I am. This is what I've gone through. This is what my struggle was. This is what, as I'm going through my podcast, I'm going through this expression of what I'm struggling currently with and how I'm coming and working and doing. Those are the ways that you can be expressing who you are within your niche and how that growth potential occurs. What were you going to say, Brooke?
I want to bring this back to money too, though. So like, I want to take it back to the money portion of this, and that. So talking about, again, what Jen said, she paid for a service. She said, but what the kind of another moment where she went icky. I had to get comfortable with paying more than I'm comfortable with paying.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the emotion there, right? There's an emotion there. What does, tell me about emotionally what that chunk of money means to you, or what it felt like to you.
When she had to think about it, or while she's giving it over?
Either way, like we can talk before and after.
It's like I don't know. It's weird. It's like I feel like if I don't get results, and that's, I don't mean that, I mean that subjectively. If I don't get results, then I don't know. It's like I there's just something that feels very vulnerable about that chunk of money and not getting results. I think that was my biggest thing. It is, if I don't have tangible results for this money, I will feel embarrassed, ashamed, regretful.
So this all, which is, I mean, so amazing emotions right there, right? Powerful, palpable emotions, embarrassed, ashamed, vulnerable, all because of an exchange of money, right? Because there's so much more to it than that, because it's our time. It's our life. Money is possibility for us.
Mm-hmm.
Much the same way coaching is. So we want to take this thing that's possible of doing a lot of other things. We're taking this one item, money, that can do so many things, and we're saying, okay, we're gonna direct it this way. We're making this decision. This is a poignant point that Dan brings up a lot in class, is that just by booking you, your client has taken a big step. It's a huge step. It's another reason I say charge for your services, because the accountability is so much more present when somebody hands you their money. Because why? They're handing you their time. They're handing you possibility. They're handing you potential. And they're feeling vulnerable and scared when they do. And that's where our job as clients is to come in and go, okay, or as coaches to come in and go, okay, let's do this work. And you got this, right? But that's why trust is so critical in marketing, because we feel vulnerable when we give people money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. True.
It still feels vulnerable to this day.
Mhm.
But I love it. I mean, I love it so much. And I'm getting tangible results, but I'm also getting intangible results because there's results that are taking place in my mind that people don't have any clue about. Only I know the magic of what's taking place in my mind.
That's awesome. Yeah. And look at it. And look at the smile. You can tell by the smile. Smile alone, she's getting a return on investment right there. Right? Because it would be a whole other story if she was not. But it does make it, this is something I've said for a long time, it does make a coach's job difficult. As far as selling goes, because right, like Anthony mentioned, if our pants rip a hole in them, we go out, we know the solution. We got to go out, buy a pair of pants, put them on. There we go. We're hungry, we know we got to get some food. If if our power goes out, we haven't paid the bill, we got to pay our electric bill. Very tangible. As a coach, we're selling something that's a little that feels happiness. That's
You're selling something that exists in the head of the client, and you're trying to pull that out. Like, of course, you do your marketing, you try to attract the people whose goals align with what you are putting out in the world. But even if you get very similar clients all the time, each individual client has a different version in their little noggin that you have to tease and pull out and get them to say to you, and then work towards that. What you're selling exists in their brains, and you have to try to, well, you coach them to make that a tangible thing in their lives that they can say, oh, I've done X, Y, and Z. These are real results that I'm getting now. They're not just imaginary things.
You've touched on a point, though, a great point, though, with regard to, okay, everybody's got their own idea of what happiness is, what success is, right? But money, regardless, all makes us feel one way. But how do we distill that, or how do we figure out that one thing so that we can garner the trust? I mean, this really tells you why niching is so important, because it brings that authenticity. We're able to speak, we build the trust, so that we feel less vulnerable when handing people our money, our hard-earned money. So I want to just throw this out there. I have a question, just random. How much money how much money could you hand somebody and not stress about the loss of that money, whether or not you got your return on investment? What's that number for you guys?
Whether or not I got a return? Oh,
That depends on who I give the money to.
yeah.
I probably want to.
Yeah, I think that's a great
No
answer,
matter-
Anthony. Depends
Yeah.
who I'm giving the money to.
If it was okay, let's boil it down to this. If I had like a magic box, I don't have a box on hand right now. Let me actually no. I'm gonna get a box real quick.
I have a box right here.
Too late. I'm the one doing the exercise.
Okay, just tell me what to
So I've
do.
got a
Oh,
magic
we found
box,
one. Okay.
and all of you are allowed to put a certain amount of money in, and once I close the box, it immediately is just teleported into a random person's wallet or purse. You don't know who it is. It could be anybody in the world. It could be anybody in the past or future. It could be Hitler that you're giving money to. You don't know. It could be Jesus, whoever you like a lot. But whatever money goes in here, it's gone and it goes away. How much money are you putting in here?
What are we getting for it?
I know there's not I don't know what the ROI is.
But let's just talk about that.
You get nothing for this exercise.
I'd like to be optimistic that it falls into the lap of somebody that needs it.
Can we talk about? I just want to talk about this psychological experiment before we go further, because you guys are all going, well, what do we get in return for it? What do we think about that, guys. The fact that every one of you went, wait, there was conditions upon giving from every one of you.
But we are talking about
Yes,
how, so we're given a little more guidelines on that than just giving. If we're out just giving, I'm sure any of us could just give to the church, to Jesus, to
under what circumstances though? You're still laying terms out there.
Okay, going forward, we're not allowed to change the rules of this exercise until I say so. How much money are you willing to put in the box before it becomes uncomfortable?
I'll put $20 in there.
Yeah, I'll do 15.
I might be willing to do 30.
I was thinking 100. Even before you said that.
I was thinking 50, but now I'm rethinking.
I was thinking 50 at first too, but then I was like, I'm bringing it down to 20. Like my first result, I just did this recently. I took a risk on somebody recently. It was a situation. I was like, I don't know if this is. I don't know if I'm going to get anything back for this, but I'm willing to risk this much money, and it was $50. And I gave him the hell. I was like, you do realize though, if you just take this money and run, you're losing it in somebody who will pay you more later, and if you come through on this service. Like, and I felt okay with that. I was like, okay, if it's a wash, it's a wash. I can live with this, because ultimately it's his loss, not mine, if he doesn't come through. Like,
you said in exchange for a service and a risk, like you were weighing the benefit versus the cost. You're not getting any benefit from the box.
I'll do $20. I said that's why I said
I'm going to go to 25
because I'm going to be really upset if I put 60 and Hitler gets that.
$20 is easy.
Oh yeah, I don't want that.
Oh, 60.
I can pull that out of the ATM. It's a matter of convenience as much as it is for me,
Oh, 60 American dollars.
No,
I'm not the one who's giving him money. That's Jerome.
What is the point of your exercise?
I was just, because you asked the question, how much until it becomes, but that's like a low ceiling though.
But we all look. Every one of us said $20 ish, 15 from Jerome.
So maybe that's what the cost is of a discovery session or something.
That's
similar.
right there. That's how do we apply this to coaching? Well, that tells me that people probably throw $20 out there pretty easily, right? As somebody who's doing marketing or pricing or talking to somebody about pricing. This is a question I would ask somebody: how much for your ideal client is it easy for them to invest as a lower level offer, right? I guess my next question would be, what do you have to get in return for that to make that 50? What has to happen? But
this might be a good exercise to give to coaches. You got, what can I do to this box to make you pay me $200 for something? What do I have to do to this box?
Ultimately though, what was more interesting for me in all of this was that every one of us went, wait, what do I get in return? Or, only under these conditions. Is it going to go to somebody good? Is it going to, there's so much, we have so much attachment to money and everything. But think of it this way too, though. How would you have felt if Anthony said, oh yeah, that money, I'm going to pick a situation that will make all of us feel icky. Okay. We're all going to feel icky from this. So yeah, that box full of money went to somebody with a gambling problem, and they have a family, and they gambled away that money along with their kids' Christmas money.
How does that make you guys feel? That exact situation working at a casino.
I know you were my inspiration there because you told me that story before. And I was like, oh God, that's horrible. Like I had a visceral reaction. And so I was like, so how would that have made you guys feel?
Not good.
Right? Icky. Like, never putting money in a box again.
I think some of what you're describing is some from experience too, the things that we've experienced in our own lives and how they impacted us. And some of how it impacted, growing up with our families and how that got translated to us as well.
I think it's inescapable to separate money from emotion. We can't do it. It's not
Well,
possible.
even money from your own morality and like sense of justice. Like I was being tongue in cheek with the Hitler thing, but Jerome, how would you have felt if your $20 went to Nazi Germany and you felt
How about
Wouldn't be
if
too
it went
proud
to, if it
about
went to Putin?
Yeah, let's put it in today's terms. Yeah.
But
I was thinking of what'd you go?
I was gonna say the reason I picked 15 is I've lost money before in the past, and I'm not gonna be too upset if I lost $15, and I think that's my baseline.
I'm willing to do.
Like
I'm willing to play
20,
the
I'd be a little like, I could have bought something with that.
I'll
what
buy
I'm getting
scratchers up to $20. Yeah, I'll buy scratchers. I'll pitch in for scratchers and lotto up to 20.
but what I'm getting at though is that people feel morally implicated in the things that their money ends up going to.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's not just like, well, I'm getting something out of this. Like, let's say you
Well,
put
yes,
money in the
we
box.
I think
I-
we justifiably feel morally implicated because if our money goes to things that are criminal, we can't actually go to jail for that.
Well, in some situations, yes. Others, maybe not.
um, if we're
What's
funding
the Tesla's guy's name? I was thinking of him.
Elon Musk,
Elon Musk. I was thinking, he doesn't need my measly $100 or $15 or 20. I better not go to him, right? So definitely we have those restrictions on what we would be comfortable with. But on the flip side, if all our contributions went towards the greater good for someone, then we feel good about what we've done. And so that attachment to feeling good or feeling bad, so there is what I would presume a homeless person on the corner back in California when I was there. And I had just gone grocery shopping. And I thought, well, I had seen somebody else come from a grocery store, be all out of it, get in their car that was a Mercedes, an older Mercedes, and drive away. I'm like, oh, that's really weird. So this person that's homeless, I'm assuming, just gone grocery store on the corner, I hand him some food. He was mad that I handed him food. That's not what he wanted. Money is what he wanted. So it's definitely food for thought, our attachment to this money situation. So coaches and clients have this attachment, and the ability to share our passion helps somebody want to invest in us as much as we're investing in them.
I wanted to point out, when you started that, you said that what you did with your money would make you feel good or bad, depending on where it went or how it went. This is one of the things I said many times. I think this demonstrates it beautifully, is that we as people decide emotionally. We make our decisions emotionally. And then once we've made our decision, we justify it practically.
Yeah.
So we make our decision emotionally, and it goes, this is what I want. That is an emotion. This is all right. This is, and so I'm going to spend the money to do it. Boom. Then what we do is take all this, after we've decided, we go through all these hoops, and we jump through all these hoops going, okay, this is why it's okay. This is why it's okay that I'm spending it. This is what I'm going to get in return. We go through this whole process of justification. But the truth of the matter is, we've already decided here. All of that justification comes afterwards. So that's why appealing to that emotional person is the power.
Yeah.
You can justify all, but that doesn't, they've already just made up their mind. And you can find a hell of a time changing somebody's mind when they've made it up, especially when they're deciding to do something for themselves from an emotional place. They're going to actually, most of the time, go out of their way to justify the decision in such a way that works to make the decision a good decision. And they're probably not going to want to hear so much that it's a bad decision. So the work is done for you if you can appeal to the emotional person.
Some clients I had who came from the opposite of wealth, really not well-to-do whatsoever. They I worked in Costa Mesa. They took a bus from Long Beach. Anybody that takes a bus, no, that's going to be a hike of a bus to get to Costa Mesa. So
Yeah, that's a long bus ride. I mean, just
that's a long bus ride.
it's at least a few hours, a couple
Yeah.
hours, I'd say, yeah.
So they would take a bus ride to me. They couldn't get an earlier appointment. You know, we negotiated the time because that was the time they could get to me and get returned back to Long Beach. Anyway, so we were coaching that session. You guys have heard this story before, I believe. You know, third visit, they've come in. Now I'm asking them how they're working out their financials so that they can afford my services, because I was ready to give them everything under the sun in that place. And then they told me what they negotiated for themselves because they valued the experience they were getting from our coaching sessions. And by golly, each session up until that third one, they were doing leaps and bounds of work, and they were really striving and working hard on making their relationship a place where their foundation was more solid, and they could, you know, what we talked about last week, what is it, fragile, get into that anti-fragile position with their relationship. So that will, in a way, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So we're at the end of our time. It went by fast.
That went by so fast.
That was the fastest live we've ever done. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I thought it was just me.
It's ridiculous.
Money talk will do.
I feel like we haven't even like
Scratch the
really
surface.
delved into the topic. Like we're missing. It seems like we talked about the client's relationship to money, not the coach's so much relationship.
So we're
to
gonna
money.
have to circle back at this at some point. But I want to ask you guys one question again, but to wrap this up. It's sort of a bookmark. I asked, has money ever affected your relationships before at the beginning? And I just want to ask you that again.
With myself, yeah.
Yes, it affects every relationship I've ever had and probably will ever have. And I don't like to admit to that, but it's probably true.
Yep, same here.
Yep.
I try not to let it affect much, but
When you say relationships,
it does.
what are you referring to? What are you both referring to?
Any
I'm referring to relationships with like every person I know.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Self. I mean, the whole gamut. It does. It spans it. I think the easiest, much of the way that coaches offer hope, money does the same.
yeah.
And I think when we're lacking hope or we're scared of losing our hope and possibility, we react in very crazy ways sometimes. When we have it, we feel like anything is possible, right? And so I think that you can't escape that money affects us in ways that we don't even realize. But
I don't like it, but yes, I agree.
but there's a great deal of power, as scary as this sounds, when we as coaches, we as people, we as acknowledge that and go, okay, this is what it does. This is the effect it has on me, and become conscious of that, because I think that's when we can really start to make choices from a less emotional place, and maybe places that are, that's where, if that was so much to talk about, like the long-term thinking, long-term decision making versus short-term decision making. Like Anthony, you really said it there. Like we really have only scratched the surface in this space. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
But can I just say, I'm so glad that I made the decision to spend an uncomfortable amount of money on coaching. Like, thank God I did that.
Yes. That's the salt, right? That's the pith, the proof in the pudding right there.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right, guys, we're gonna have to have like a money series at some point. Who wants to close it out? Jerome, close it out.
Thank you guys for joining us. As always, join us again next week here, Tuesday at 4 Pacific Standard. And what is our topic? I didn't check today. What is our topic for next week, if anybody can recall?
I had it up just moments ago. Give me a second. I will tell you
I
what
did
it is.
too.
I would have had it memorized, but I added in
You
other
have it
stuff.
up first.
I
On your
know.
mark, get set.
I think you have to get it.
Should we settle? We're speaking about settling, rationalization, compromise.
Is that next? That's next week?
Yep.
So that kind of goes along with what we're talking about.
Mm,
We can
Um,
bridge that.
no, I'm a
I thought that was
liar.
a few weeks out. That's a few
Liar.
weeks away. I'm like,
Just
yeah, no,
kidding.
that's not yet. That's a few weeks away.
We're talking about cultivating your purpose. That's what
Cultivating your purpose. Okay.
Ooh, that'll be fun for me to go off on.
So be sure to join us for that, everyone. If you enjoyed today, please go ahead and like this, share this with anybody that you think might need a little bit of insight on coaching, free of financial frustration. And thank you guys for joining us. See you guys next week.